What's going on, guys? Alex here with 814 EDC, and today I'm ready to do my full review on the Piratech Kraken. Now, this is a knife that is in via the Lefty passaround group. I believe this is Kevin's knife, and he was gracious enough to loan it out to us to check out. And this is one of the better crossbar lock style knives that I've handled in a while. The best being the Boss Seed Raccoon, and then right below that I have the the Kershaw Bel Air. Those have both been reviews that I've done within the past couple of months. But I think Piratech has a really good model here in their hands, and I think that they can take the success from this model, being it's a newer knife. It's only been out for half a year or so, give or take. They can take that success and, move into different models, different runs of this. All kinds of different things. But again, this is the Piratech Kraken. So Piratech is a new company. This is their first model. And it is, I believe, made of Kay and Damon, I think, formerly from Kaiser. They left Kaiser to create their own company, Piratech, and the Kraken is their first model. So I know Kay was on, different Lefty lives with Kevin talking about new models and stuff like that in the past. So she was a pretty big part of Kaiser, did a lot of, different things with, primarily I think on like the social media end, but now she's taking her knowledge that she gained from that as well as Damon and putting it into their own model. And as always, the website will be linked down below. They currently are in stock on Piratech's website. But yeah, so there's a couple, hidden little features with this that make it special. As opposed to other, access style lock or crossbar style lock knives, which we'll touch on in a minute. But we're going to get right into the review. So materials, I'll give you guys materials first, then we'll go with specs. So this is a really nice sheep's foot style blade, thin edge. I'd say medium stock thickness. Can't talk today. It comes down to a nice point. You kind of have a little bit of a poon down here. So if you're in like a pinch grip, your pointer finger lands right in there, and it gives you really good blade control and cutting control as you're doing your different, utility cuts around labels, cuts through packages, things of that nature. But S90V on the blade steel, which it just says right there. So S90V, fantastic blade steel to use. Slowly becoming one of my favorites. You have dual thumb studs. Again, the access style lock, crossbar style lock, really nice, although very snail trail, prone titanium scales. You have a pocket clip filler tab right there with a milled titanium clip on the back, and you guys can see a nice big snail trail right there. That's kind of been a big subject with the pass around group, is this thing just takes on snail trails so much. You guys can see all those scratches up along through there. And I know some people didn't even carry this knife really because they didn't want to risk putting more snail trails on the scales. I carried it a few times, but I was very careful with it, and I really didn't too much. I didn't cut too much with it. I made sure whenever I had this with me, I always had another knife, to do primarily my cutting with. But nice pocket clip. And yeah, as for internal milling, there are two big pockets milled out on the liners. And then, of course, you have the cutout for the lock bar to move back and forth on. Yeah, so some specs real quick. So total length from tip to butt is 7.63 inches. You have a blade length of 3.22 inches, blade thickness of 0.11 inches, blade width of 0.97 inches. This is a stone wash, but there are some changes on the newer production model as opposed to the first production run. Hardness is 61 plus or minus 1 HRC on the S90V. It says comes with a certificate of each knife's independent hardness. There will be 1 to 3 small dots on the tank of the blade from the HRC test. Handle length is 4.41 inches, handle width of 1.02 inches, and the handle finish is 180 grit quartz black bead blast. That's a tongue twister. And again, that is the newer updated blade finish. They did a few different ones, and then the weight is 4.16 ounces. So All things considered, as far as materials go, you guys know it has to be a pretty bad material list for it not to get a 5 out of 5. So it is a 5. And again, I will leave it in the link down below. It is currently in stock on the website, so if you guys are interested. And there are some new scales on there I saw. So you can get crystallized titanium scales. Has like a cool ice pattern on them for $180. And then they also had a lightning anode and a pink crystallized, but those are both sold out. But you guys can get a shirt on there, and they have some other parts, and of course the knife. So next up is the aesthetic. I think the aesthetic looks really good. I love a good sheep's foot saw blade. This is kind of a nice, longer, skinnier sheep's foot, but plenty of cutting, you know, a nice cutting path down here with the blade. Decent, you know, thinness behind the edge, nice slicer. Handle is pretty simple. I mean, you pretty much have a straight line from here to here. Has a nice rounded edge back here on the butt area of the knife. Pretty much a straight line up here. Then you do have an indented finger groove, and you can use this as, it's more of like a landing choil than an actual finger choil, but you can definitely use it. Pocket clip looks really nice, especially if it has that hidden hardware. But from an aesthetic standpoint, this has always kind of caught my eye and been, you know, a prettier looking knife to me. So I definitely am going to give it a 5 out of 5. I really don't think there's anything, it just has that nice simplistic elegance to it. And I think it was on my unboxing video of this knife. Someone commented and said it's like a 940 Osborne had a baby with a Sebenza. And I really can see that, because you have, you know, the blade, not necessarily the blade styling, but, you know, the Axis style lock, kind of a thinner profile, it's kind of a longer, thinner blade shape. The 940, I believe, is a drop point, but this is a sheep's foot. But you can definitely see some, you know, similarities there. Then, of course, with the Sebenza, you have the, you know, the sort of same finish that they use on their Sebenzas. Obviously, it's a little bit different. It doesn't, you know, snail trail as much. But I definitely, you know, once the guy commented that and I saw it, I was like, that's really a good, you know, impersonation, or a good qualification of this knife is, you know, between those two knives, and it really has stuck with me. But aesthetic is it's a very handsome looking knife, very just simplistic, clean, kind of elegant. So 5 out of 5. Next up is action. Now you have the dual thumb studs, you have the Axis style lock, and I didn't realize that the springs on here are not Omega springs like they use at Benchmade, or they are not the springs that you can use, or not necessarily springs, but it's not like the clutch lock that you see from Kaiser. So like I said earlier, there are 3 different, so it says right on the website, 3 game changer innovations of the Piratech Kraken. So 2 of them we have kind of touched on, but the 3rd one, it says piano strings core for the crossbar lock and redesigned shape. So I guess that leads to one more of the innovations, is the mag snap system, which is patented by Piratech. So these scales, you guys can see it has hidden hardware, no hardware. These pop. I don't do it and drop the filler tab, but you guys can see these come right off, and it has magnets underneath there. And then the filler tab over here for the pot clip kind of just sits in right there. But so these springs in there are apparently piano strings core for the crossbar lock, which gives it strength and stability, which is really cool. I was not aware of that until I just got on the website a little bit ago, prepping for my review. But you guys can see right there a little bit of the inside of the knife. So you have the mag snap scales, excuse me. Then you have the piano string core springs for the crossbar lock. So action, thumb stud, very, very snappy. No blade play at all. This is locked up really nice and tight. But thumb stud action fires out of there. Middle finger flick flies right out of there. Just very nice. And usually with the crossbar style lock knives, you guys get kind of a mushy detent. But this has a really nice snappy detent due to those strings being stronger, and just makes for a great deployment for both thumb stud with the thumb flick and the reverse flick. You can, of course, slow roll it out, middle finger flick, and then on the drop, you guys can see, just pull that down and it goes right home. I mean, you don't even have to really move the knife at all. Not moving it, pulling it down. I'll try it one more time. There we go. Sometimes you pull it down and let go of it too early, it'll stop. But ambidextrous, which is really nice. As far as crossbar style lock knives go, it really is good. It's satisfying, snappy. One of the better ones I've handled in quite some time. It's definitely up there with the Bel Air and the Dachshund, excuse me. So, and even the Vossied Raccoon, those are all kind of lumped together, and I definitely will put that in that lump as well. So it's going to get another 5 out of 5. Next up is acoustics. Now, with this being a titanium, scaled knife, has some internal milling on it, like you guys saw earlier when I took the scale off. Makes for really good acoustics. You have that, thwack for, when you open and close a knife. One thing that's kind of missing is the, kind of tings that you can get from titanium knives. And I don't know if it's just not necessarily, the way it's constructed or why it's not getting there. Because typically titanium knives with milling and everything like that, you're going to have some high-pitched kind of tings. And that's what I was looking for with this knife. So that's what's keeping it from getting a 5. But it's still really good, nice, satisfying thwack. And then you hear that drop, close, thwack, drop, close, thwack, drop, close. It's going to get a 4.5. And it's just missing, those high-pitched sort of tings that you have come accustomed to getting, from knives like this. That's keeping it from getting a 5 out of 5. Next up is ergos. Like I said earlier in the review, it's a very simple design, straight line, pretty much a straight line. And you have a little bit of a finger indentation right here. I can get an full 4-finger grip on the knife, excuse me. Words are hard to come by today, but you guys can see a little bit of the knife sticking out of there. I don't feel, cramped or anything at all. I don't really feel pressured. But one thing which I really don't complain about too much, I can't remember the last time to where I had a knife actually really cause a hot spot with the pocket clip. But this one I can feel for some reason, and you wouldn't think it would because, it's rounded here and it's just like a normal milled clip for the most part. But right here, I really can feel it. And the harder you squeeze, which I know is not going to be, you're not going to be like death gripping this knife all the time. The more you can feel it. But it's really kind of the first knife that I've ever picked up and I've been kind of carrying around and stuff like that, to where I've been like, man, I can really feel that pocket clip. And it's actually kind of like, not bothering me, but it's definitely a little bit of a hindrance. And it's definitely there to the fact that the pocket clip is digging in your hand a little bit. You can alleviate that a little bit by using this little landing choil area. Again, you are so close to the blade, so definitely be careful when you're cutting with this knife, with this, hand grip, because you can easily, hit it on something and slide your finger right onto the blade. But as long as you're being careful while you're being comfortable, being aware of what you're cutting around and taking your time, you definitely can be okay with this knife. But the pinch grip works really good because, you can kind of do it in 2 ways. So your thumb goes right here, your pointer finger or your middle finger goes right here, and your pointer finger can land right here where it has jimping pretty far out, anywhere in this area, and it's pretty comfortable. But then if you really want to, I can kind of wrap it around my middle finger around, thumb kind of lands same area, and then my pointer finger lands out here in this little poon area, like I touched on earlier, and it provides for really good strength for piercing cuts. It just gives you that a little extra like downward motion right here. This is a very comfortable grip. I really like how they added this right out here. A lot of knives don't really do that, but I really like when I do see knives with this feature. It makes for a very, very comfortable grip. So everything else is pretty comfortable. The scales have a nice finish to it. Again, they can, snail trail quite a bit, but from a comfortability standpoint, no qualms at all. Really the biggest thing is that pocket clip, and I'm just surprised that I can feel it as much as I do, because normally they don't really cause that much of a hot spot. Because of that, I'm going to give it a 4. But in every other, hammer grip, saber grip, reverse saber or hammer grip, you can reverse this around if you had to. But everything else is pretty comfortable. It's just that pocket clip is surprisingly a little bit of a hot spot. But next up is carry. Kind of going back to that pocket clip. It's a milled clip, so you have about that much sticking up out of your pocket. Really not a big deal at all, because I think from an aesthetic standpoint, the clip works really well, or looks really well. But from a comfortability standpoint, like I just touched on, not the best, but it carries pretty well. It is a little bit over 4 ounces, so not the lightest knife in the world. You would think maybe it would be a little bit under 4 ounces, but and it definitely holding it, you can definitely feel it has a little bit of a heft to it. in the pocket, it's not the best, but you kind of feel it's there, but it's not by any means heavy. It's not really a hindrance to carry. You can just definitely feel it's there more so than other knives in this sort of size range of 3¼ inch blade. But it sits in your pocket. You have no flipper tab, no jimping right here to catch on if you're, going down to grab something out of your pocket and coming up out. But it's, all nicely sanded or bead blasted titanium, no sharp edges or anything like that. Of course, you can switch it over to Lefty. You just got to take the scale off, switch over the filler tab. It kind of just fits up into the scale, and then you sit the scale down on so the magnets keep it on, like I just showed you guys. But you can switch it around. Actually, I don't know if you guys can see that, but there is a screw right here that's keeping the clip in place. So it's a screw in the back, clip sits in. But, I don't really necessarily know where to go right away with this, with the carryability. I'm leaning towards another 4 because it's not bad by any means, excuse me. But it really isn't just that fantastic. Maybe a swig of water will help me remember my words. So I'm going to go 4 with the carry. I think that's fair, for my little nitpicks. And again, everything you got to take with a grain of salt that I say, because it's all opinion based, and you guys could have different opinions on this knife than I do. But, here we are. So lastly, I want to talk about price point and value / what I recommend this knife. So the price point on the Kraken comes in at $300. Now, I don't necessarily have an issue with that knife or with this price, but I'm just not going to go out of my way to pick one of these up, because I think that, if I would have picked this knife up and been fidgeting with it and, playing around with it at like Blade Show or a knife show or a friend that gave it to me, just by playing with it, I wouldn't have guessed that it would be that much. Now on the first production run, I think they were $280, so they were a little bit cheaper, but just by looking at this and, fidgeting with it and carrying it, I would think that this knife would not come in more than like $225. Now, I'm not saying it's, everything that I've talked about has been a pretty positive review. Really good materials, cool party trick with the, MagSafe scales to where you can just snap it on and off. I really like the screwless, scales. The fact that it's all hidden hardware makes it look really, really clean aesthetically. That's why I gave it a 5. It was very clean aesthetically. But I just can't justify right now. Like, I don't think $300 is a great value for this knife. I don't necessarily think I kind of lean both ways. Like, it's not a good value, I don't think. But I can definitely, I can see where they're coming from. S90V, piano string springs for the crossbar style lock knife, or lock in there. Nice scales, although they do snail trail a lot. Clip that functions pretty well, but is a little bit of a hotspot, but looks good. So it's kind of just like a mixed bag, in my opinion. I don't think $300 is necessarily the best price for this. I would say maybe $250 at max for everything they're getting. So, and I don't want that to steer you away, because this is a good knife at its foundation. So if you guys like the knife and you're willing to spend $300, absolutely. But I don't think it's the best value out there. And I really just don't think that it really, I don't know. And I'm not obviously a knife guy, or I don't have my own company. I don't sell knives for a living. So I'm not behind the scenes, but I just don't think that this is necessary. Like, I don't know. I guess my final point and what I'm trying to come across to you guys is I just don't think it's a great value. But I like all the materials. I like the design, and I like a lot about the knife. There's just a few small nitpicks, but comparing price to value, I got to give it a 3.5. To be completely honest with you guys, I just think that there's better knives out there for the value for S90V and titanium, in that $200 to $250 range. But, $300 is I guess it's going to be, it's meh. It's okay. It's whatever. People are going to pay it. If I love this knife, I would pay it. I don't love the knife. I like it. But yeah, let me count this up real quick. So I'll give you guys a final score and see where this lands on my review list. But 1, 2, 3. Alrighty, guys. So the Piratech Kraken comes in with a score of 31, which lands it in the great category. And I think that is very, very fair, very adequate. This is a good, or excuse me, this is a great, not perfect, not fantastic knife for me. So I think that's fair, but I really do enjoy it. I'm going to, send it off in the next couple of days. Man, guys, I don't know what is up with me, but I just cannot talk today, so I apologize. But I've been talking to you guys for about 20 minutes now, so hopefully I'm going to wrap it up soon and let you guys get about your day. But yeah, cool knife from Piratech. I can't wait to see what they come out with in the future. I would love to see maybe a little more of a scaled down version of this with some really nice micarta or fat carbon would be really, really cool. But I think they have done really well with their first design. A lot better than some people's and some companies' first designs out there, definitely. But yeah, so this was my full review on the Piratech Kraken. Huge shout out to Kevin over at Lefty DC for throwing this in the pass round for us to check out. Try to get a nice thumbnail for you guys. But yeah, leave a comment down below. Did you guys pick up one of these on the first production run? And that reminds me real quick, I forgot to mention the updates from the first run, so I apologize for this being so late. The blade finish is being changed from stone wash to hand satin. The titanium scales finish will go from 120 grit to 180 grit. The thumb stud redesigned with Kraken head shape for more comfortable use and brand style. So I'm not sure how those are going to look, but I'll definitely have to check it on Instagram and see if they've updated that at all. But yeah, leave a comment down below. Did you guys pick up one of these? Are you planning to? I would love to hear what you guys have to say. But I'm going to wrap this up now so I quit rambling over my damn words. But I will talk to you guys in the next one. Hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your day, evening, night, or whenever you're watching this. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.